Okay, got it. Anyway, so yeah, I was going to tell you why I'm a Christian to this day. Despite it being tough, because
Mhm.
it's not easy. There are difficulties. But I see it as worth it. I'm a Christian first and foremost because I believe that it's true. It's a real fact about reality. Now, besides the other religions, for Christianity to be true, there only needs to be two facts that are true. Firstly, that God exists. If there is no God, there is no Christianity. But the second is with Jesus. He, in history, was tortured to death, but apparently there's this resurrection where he was raised to life. So the second truth would be if he actually raised from the dead. If Jesus rose from the dead, then and God exists and Christianity is true. And so I think there's really good evidence backing up both those truths. And so I believe in that and I trust in Jesus, and that's why I am a Christian. For you, do you at this point believe either of those things? God exists and Jesus rose from the dead? What are your thoughts?
Okay, like I said before, there's a lot of points. I've seen both sides of Christianity and Islam, and I'm not even going to cover Judaism because, you know, that's a whole separate thing. They have so many, like, not differences, but like, it's a completely different part that I myself have not fully dove into, nor do I want to. But like, with like Christianity, what pushes me away is how like passionate I guess people are about it, and like that drives me away. It's like someone coming up to you and like like marketing some type of product and shit, and I'm like, dog, like that's too much. You're doing too much. And in my eyes, it's just people like get obsessed over religion as a whole, which
Mm,
brings me back to my point of like, religion being such like a backbone for every problem that's happened in history. Whereas like, every big problem has had a religious factor to it, whether someone not liking a certain group because they don't follow this religion, or someone not, stuff like that.
okay. Well, no, I appreciate with what you said so far. I guess the question still stands though. Besides what
Do I
anybody
believe? Yeah.
thinks, yeah, do you actually believe in this objective fact of reality? Like, let's start with God's existence.
Um,
Is there actually a God?
See, that's a difficult question for me to even contemplate still, because I want to believe that no way God cannot exist at this point because of how much bad has he allowed to happen. Because like I understand, there's the whole Adam and Eve story with Eve eating the apple and then God sentencing all of like humanity down here to be punished. But you're gonna tell me that uh like, you're gonna tell me that even one like just because of one mistake up there by one person, you're going to punish every other person that, I guess in the story, we're all the children of Adam and Eve, I guess, but really have no connection to them, at this point.
Okay,
So
I
it's
got it.
like, like it's like the like a debt system almost. Like you owe me money, so your kids also owe me money.
Okay, yeah, I think I got what you're saying. And correct me if I'm wrong, you're telling me that the reason that people go to hell is because of what our great ancestor Adam did. It's because of what he did that we're all on our way to hell right now.
Yeah, what Adam and Eve did, was wrong, and so now we're getting punished for what those two did wrong, even though we had literally no part of that. We weren't even a thought at that point.
Okay.
And then like all this bad happened here on Earth because of that, and you're just letting it all happen, all this like suffering down here. Like you're telling me that I have to suffer for what, like 80 to 100 years, maybe more than 100, because some people live longer than 100 here on Earth with like, disease, with like all this hate in the world and all this like problems in the world. Like I have to walk down the street ready to get shot, right? Just because person A has free will and could shoot me.
Mm,
And all these like sin live in the world, I
yeah.
guess.
Okay.
But
Now,
at the same time,
are you open to counterpoints?
uh, yeah, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So I think what you said there, I would say that's a misunderstanding of what of Christianity. See, we're not going to hell purely because of what our ancestors did a long time ago. The reason why we go to hell is because of our own evil within our hearts. So I'll use me for an example. I won't put you on the grill. I've deceived people in my life. I've lied. I've stolen in my life before. I've had pride within my own heart. I've gotten drunk in my life. I've lusted after people in my heart. All of these are different ways of me breaking God's commands and doing wrong and evil. And even for a non Christian, they still break the moral law as well. They have their conscience. So my point is that all of us are doing evil of our own accord, and so we are the ones responsible for our own direction to hell. It's because of our evil that we're going to hell, regardless of whatever Adam and Eve did in the past.
So I kind of lost you there because you were like, yeah, we're responsible for our own actions. We're responsible for the actions we take, basically, to go to hell. Which, yeah, I understand. But I forget what it was, but I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, it might be a completely different religion at that point. But if it's like you having the thought of doing something bad is also a deeming factor of you going to hell. Because a person could think, like, I could be thinking about how I want to kill this, and the fact that I just cursed right there, you know? But just that thought alone, is that going to be the reason why I go to hell, even though I didn't kill him? Or I want to lie. Hey, shut the like, you know, like I want to lie and I
Yeah.
want to steal money, but I don't. So is that a deeming factor for me to go to hell?
Oh, well, if you're asking if us getting tempted alone is bad, then no. Because look at the man who was perfect, Jesus. He got tempted by the devil himself, and yet that wasn't wrong. It's what we do with our temptations. But okay,
I mean,
let's skip back a second though. So I
yeah.
still don't know for sure if you believe in God's existence or not. I'm on the side that
I
you don't
myself,
believe in
I
his
told you,
existence.
I myself just want zero part of it. Like that's where I stand. Like with the religious trauma I've had, and but not just the religious trauma, the religious info I have myself. I want zero part of it because it is too many points. And my point with Christianity, Catholicism, everything like that is, why are you having to pray to a priest or have a priest talk to God for you, right? This is where I agree more with Islam. Because if God is there for you, right, why must you pay up to the church? Why must you talk to the church, like members such as a priest or like a I forget what it's called. It's something box, like where you confess your sins into a box and you get redeemed for it. Why does that person have to communicate to God for you, and you have to communicate to that person to God?
Mm.
Whereas Islam, you just talk straight to God.
Can I give a quick
You
response?
communicate yourself. Yeah.
So what you just said right there doesn't mean you have a problem with Christianity as a whole. You only have a problem with the Catholic and Orthodox denominations. But for me, for example, I'm a Protestant, meaning I'm not a Catholic and I'm not an Orthodox, uh, Eastern Orthodox Christian, I would say. And so we believe that you go right to Jesus for your prayers and forgiveness. Scripture even says
No.
there is only one mediator between God and man, and it's the man Jesus Christ. So you're
See,
okay. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's my point exactly. Because regardless of the priest, you still have to talk to Jesus, the middleman, to get to God. Islam is a
Oh,
completely different story of you going straight to God. If you want to talk to God, you don't talk to his prophets like Islam says. You talk to, because the prophet is a creation of God. Jesus was created by God. If no God, no Jesus, no nothing, right? In Islam, you talk straight to God. You don't need to talk to Jesus. You don't need to talk to any of the saints. You don't
Hmm.
need to talk to I forget what they're called, like the Islamic version of like a priest, essentially. I forget what they're called. But you don't need to talk to any of them. You talk straight to God. You go into a mosque. You lay down. You pray. All that. You sit down. You pray. Like, and that's it. You're done. Even then, my problem is with the views itself. Where people themselves corrupt the religion and push it too far. And so with me, it's just the like whole association that person like A and person B are saying this and this about Christianity, and then they spread off into their own branches of Christianity. Christianity has so many different like routes and everything like that. It has so many different like branch offs and so many different like the tiniest difference, and you're in a whole new religion. Like Protestant, what you said, Catholicism and Orthodox. There's all these three, whereas Islam is just straight Islam. It's just there. And it's not like the Quran is just a like collection of stories spoken from person A to person B to person C, and then finally written down and translated like a million times from like Hebrew to I forget what other languages to finally English. Like imagine what was lost in all those translations, because translation isn't perfect, right? The Quran, on the other hand, it is so much like preserved. It is extremely preserved. The books there are the same as books written like so long ago. The Quran never like, or at least changed as little as possible. And there's no translation of it. It is straight Arabic. You learn Arabic, you can read the Quran from like when it was first written, because the language has never like, not that it hasn't evolved, but it hasn't like changed in its way. Whereas the Bible has been translated time and time again, and with proof of people using those translations to further their own personal agendas in whatever time period it was. They're listening to
Huh?
music, I think.
Oh, I was going to ask a question.
Hmm.
Okay. Because I assumed when you came in here you were joining in on the conversation. I don't know about you though. Like, when it comes to God's existence and Jesus' resurrection, do you think that those are actual facts that are true or they're false?
My belief on religion, it was all made up for money. That way, when you go to church, like you were saying, there's a collection plate. It's a big money scamble. It was also made up for people to have something to believe in, so that people just don't go rampage and go crazy. Like they made the commandments to try to make people act like decent human beings. But my belief on religion is like my dad told me, and my dad is almost 70 years old, and he's seen the world as it is. He says the whole heaven and hell shit, he said all that's made up. He said the only true belief to that is that while you're here on this earth and you are living and working every day, you are living through hell. But he said when you die, you are finally at peace, you're in heaven because you don't have any worries anymore, everything is done.
I see. So,
That's a good view on it. I like that view too.
is that your way of saying you don't believe in either of those things?
Chat.
I don't believe in any religions. I think they're all just a crock.
Okay, I see. I gotcha. Now, this is, of course, where we're diverging paths here. Because I believe this stuff is true, but why do I believe it? Is it because I was raised in that way or it's my tradition? Not primarily. I believe that God exists and Jesus rose from the dead on the basis of evidence. I think there's good evidence for this stuff. For you guys, though, I want to ask you, do you have any evidence to back up your denial of this stuff?
For me personally, it's just, Christianity, you don't really see as much of these stories, that are supposedly true still being held up today, which I get, it's very old, it's super old. However, Islam, the Islamic religion, is older than Christianity, which to me, being able to read the language that they wrote the first Quran book in and still be able to read it without a million translations and words being lost along the way and people corrupting the book throughout the years to further their own agendas. I strongly believe more in the Islamic side of religion than the Christianity side. And don't get it twisted that, it's just because I was raised in a more Islamic household while I was more conscious. No, I've had my inning and outings with the different religions, both too. Judaism, I'm not gonna even count, none of that, because these other religions, Judaism, I can't think of the other ones right now, but it's not that they're irrelevant, but there's really no comparison between these two, I feel like.
Yeah.
But Islam, it's got so much more truth, I feel, and it's a much more believable story, even if it is fake. It's a much more believable story and all. And even then, there are stories that you can be held up today, and in the Quran, they literally predict things that would have happened today. The whole discovery of space, that we are a floating rock and the earth goes around the sun. Whereas Christians, because of Christianity at the time, tried stopping all knowledge of the scientific research because they believed the sun went around the earth, and any other thinking was a herrick or
Heresy?
what is it called? Heresy. Yeah, heresy. And this is coming from a person, right? I'm not going to bring race into it, but I'm Latino, and Latinos have an extremely strong Christian or Catholic type of background, and whenever I go over to my home country and everything like that, and I'm talking to my family members, they're always asking why I don't believe and everything like that. So I'm always met with their points on why it's real, but I still agree more with Islam, but I just myself draw out of it.
Okay.
Islam also, there's one story, I forget what, of water sprouting in the desert. There's literally zero, I forget what exactly it is, but there is zero there's zero circumstances for the water to be there. Scientists literally cannot prove why there is water there, but water is there in the middle of dry area. There is water, and they cannot prove why there is water there. That to me is, wow, that's proof right there. They literally have that. They're scientists that I can't prove that. And I get there's a lot that scientists can't prove, but still, that right there.
Okay. Yeah. No, I've been hearing what you said with all of this. Well, you and I have equal footing in the sense that we both don't think that Islam is actually true. We think that it's false. And the thing that I can't get behind with Islam is it denies the very crucial thing that I actually believe is true, that Jesus resurrected from the dead. Islamic teaching states that he wasn't even crucified to begin with. I can't assent to that kind of a belief from Islam because that's just historically false. Even atheist scholars will say that Jesus historically was crucified under Pontius Pilate, but what do we see in the Islamic teaching is that he was not killed, but only appeared to be so, but it wasn't actually him being crucified.
Well, okay, from what I remember, right? Because again, when I was in the teachings for the Islamic school and everything I told you about,
Yeah.
This was years ago, so a lot of my has forgotten. I've forgotten because of the religious trauma. I forgot most of it. I tried my best to forget most of it, so I'm really fuzzy with these things.
Okay.
But from what I remember personally, they did not deny that. They confirmed that he was crucified and everything like that. That he was a prophet and everything. But they don't say that he is God or he is, you don't need to pray to Jesus. You're not supposed to pray to Jesus. Jesus is a creation of God. He came down to deliver the message. And nowhere does Jesus say him personally that he in himself is God. No, in nowhere does he say that he is God. I'm here, which is my problem with I forget which. Again, there's so many strains of Christianity. It's like so hard to like follow. But
Can
like
I
one of
give a
them
question?
says that, yeah,
Yeah. So, with what you just said, are you telling me that Jesus didn't see himself as God?
yeah, he did not see himself as God. He said he was not God, and like that he was a messenger straight from God. He was from God. However, there's one Christian branch that believes him as God. You know
Interesting. So,
that he is God and God's son.
okay. Well, I guess if what you're saying here is consistent with Jesus, then we wouldn't expect him to act or do anything that only God can do, right? Otherwise, he'd
Well,
be
that's also
blaspheming, right?
yes. And I think I know what you're gonna get at. I'm gonna let you finish though.
Sure. So, are you familiar with the Gospel of Mark?
No.
Okay. Hey guys, this is just a little edit because I botched the passage a little bit, so I want to correct it here. What I'm about to quote from is Mark chapter 2. Jesus is about to heal a paralyzed man, but firstly he pronounced that the man's sins were forgiven, as you can see in verse 5. Now, people might overlook this, but it's actually really important because of what it implies. Some of the teachers of the law were thinking to themselves that Jesus was blaspheming because who can forgive sins but God alone? This is the main and crucial point that I'm trying to convey here. It shows that Jesus saw himself as carrying out divine authority to forgive sins. And in response to their thoughts, Jesus said, which is easier, to say to this paralyzed man, your sins are forgiven, or to say, get up, take your mat, and walk? But I want you to know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins. So he said to the man, I tell you, get up, take your mat, and go home. He got up, took his mat, and walked out in full view of them all. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to how this is handled. The only thing that I'm trying to prove here is that Jesus saw himself as having the authority to forgive sins, which God alone has the prerogative to do. So watch how that point is handled. But one of the things that he did was he went to this person who was injured. I think his hand was shriveled or maybe he had leprosy, but he told him that his sins were forgiven. And then the Jews around him were sussing him out. They're like, well, how can this be? He's blaspheming. No one can forgive sins but God alone. And yet, what did Jesus do in response to their
Yeah, he fixed the
disagreement?
guy's arm, right?
Well, he says this, right? He says something along the lines of which is more takes more authority or power or something to do, to forgive a man's sins or to tell this man to get up and walk or something like that. But I say this so that you believe that the Son of Man has the authority to forgive sins. I say to you, get up and walk. So we have a time where Jesus forgave sins, and this is in multiple passages in Scripture. But who can forgive sins but God alone? So I see there a good example of Jesus doing something as if he were God. But what do you think about that kind of a thing? What goes through your head?
When it comes down to like conversations like that, where like, there's no straight. Sorry, that got really loud. It's like I'm losing my train of thought here. You see, this is like we're like
Well, here,
what you said, the whole immunity thing. I'm blocking it out at this point. But
oh, I'm
like,
sorry. Yeah, no, just tell me at any
yeah,
time to just uh, finish up the convo, and I'll be totally fine with that. It's just been really engaging talking to you because I've enjoyed hearing your stance and
no,
everything.
because I have a lot to say about this because I remember it at times, but there are other times where I'm just blanked out. And right now, unfortunately, is one of those times I'm blanked out. I had some shit go on at work, so like that's got me
Oh,
frustrated. So I am in no
I'm
like
sorry to hear
right
that,
mental
man.
space to yeah to debate.
Okay,
So like I'm really lost on it right now, and like I would be debating better.
I see. Well, the point I'm trying to make is very
But
simple.
again,
Do you want to go?
yeah, it's just you can say like a group of people can all make up like one lie, Like I'm not saying that they were lying, right? But like in no way does one claim or of a man getting his arm fixed prove that, Jesus is there. Because in that case, Helen Keller being able to see later on in her life would be a blessing from God, and at that point, like her being able to well, I forget if it was hear or talk again, or I mean hear or see again, but that would be like a blessing straight from God. So why wasn't she claiming the existence of Jesus at that point?
Yeah, you might be misunderstanding what I'm saying here. So I'm not saying that because Jesus healed a man, therefore he's God. What I'm saying is that we're talking about whether Jesus saw himself as divine, as God. And so I'm bringing up this case where Jesus forgives this person's sins, or at least he claims to do so. And the people around him said, that's blasphemy. Who could do that but God alone? And so I look at Jesus forgiving this person and I say, okay, if he's doing this and only God can do it, then he must have at least seen himself as God. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
So what you're saying, that he himself claims himself as God?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, here's my point. I claim myself as God.
Okay.
I forgive your sins.
Okay.
So am I God now?
No.
Exactly. So what differentiates that from that, given there's no proof of the man's arm being fixed? You can't bring me straight to the man's grave, show me that his arm is fixed. You can't bring me to the guy before that. There is straight up no evidence. Whereas Islam, they have their evidence still planted here today. And the book talks of things happening today, or recent.
Okay, so I need to notice the small thing that just happened. You're coming into a different question now. We were talking about whether Jesus saw himself as God or not. But now we're shifting into the question of whatever he claimed about himself, did he actually prove himself to be God? And for that kind of a question, I would look at to his resurrection. Did it actually happen or not? And there is good evidence that he was raised from the dead. And I can tell you about it if you want me to give my case.
Well, go on.
Okay, so this is a two-step piece of evidence. For any historical thing, we need to look at the facts and then ask what's the best explanation. For example, this world in VR chat existing right now, that's the data point. That's the fact. Now, what's the best explanation? Did it just come up as a code online that was an accident, or maybe the explanation that someone actually built this VR chat world is the better explanation? We know the obvious answer to that. So that's the two steps we have with Jesus. So here are the facts surrounding our historical event here. It's a historical fact that the tomb he was buried in was discovered empty on the third day by his women followers. The second fact is that there were individuals and groups, right? Groups and individuals who had appearances of Jesus alive to them. And then the third and final historical fact that I'll give is that there was at least one enemy and skeptics of Jesus who also converted to giving their lives to him through these appearances as well. And so we have these three facts at least. There's plenty more, but I just want to keep it simple. And now we have to ask, what's the best explanation for these facts? Now, before I say anything else, what do you think?
Well, the tomb being empty, that could be like a million different things. If anything, it could be a completely separate tomb that who was it? Well, like what type of followers was it?
The women followers of Jesus.
Exactly. Like, I'm not saying it was a completely different tomb, because I know, I believe it is that they discovered his tomb and everything like that, like in today's world. But at the same time, who's to say there wasn't a grave robber? Because grave robbing was a very predominant thing at that time. Who's to say there wasn't a grave robbing, Or better yet, who's to say that they actually checked 3 days later and didn't just say that he was gone? Who's to say they checked the thing properly? So I'm saying that to have a woman group at that time say something is very unlikely. I don't know how to put it like properly, like
I see.
Like my brain is my brain is fried right now. I told you there's like actual shit going on, but
yeah, no. Well, I mean,
going on to the next point.
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, no. Let's talk about the first one. Let's keep talking about the first point, so it gives me time to brew the other ones.
Well, I was actually going to ask you if that's your explanation for all the facts, is this empty body was maybe stolen or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it could have been stolen. It could have been a straight up lie that his body wasn't there. Because did anyone else besides this group of women go there to find the body? You know?
I see. Okay. Now, if that's your explanation that you're giving, I have some problems with that. That might explain why there's an empty body, but it doesn't explain why there were individuals in groups that had appearances of Jesus. They were really convinced they saw the risen Jesus, including
Right.
enemies and skeptics of Jesus too. They also had appearances as well. So just the body being stolen alone doesn't explain all of that stuff.
Right. Now, you're not taking psychology into the fact of this, that, your mind does play games on you. If, let's say I made my life about hating one person, right?
Hmm.
Finding out that person just died and it wasn't to my hands, that could be a whole fucking, like, my life purpose to me was just destroyed just like that. And that could send me into a spiral. Like that could make me go crazy. People, even today, people say that they like see things that aren't there, and that's literally, I forgot the word. What is it called? Like mental images. I can't think of it. Help me.
Hallucination?
It's like when you're hallucination. Yes, like it could have been like a straight up hallucination. It could have been a lie. Say like there are people nowadays. I'm going to this one story like years and years ago of this girl claiming that she saw Slenderman. Slenderman told her to do things, and she went and stabbed her friend. I don't know how many
I
times.
remember that
So is
story.
Slenderman real? Yeah. So in that case, is Slenderman real? Because she's not the only one who claims she's seen Slenderman. Or better yet, I say I see a person over here. Do you see a person over there? No, you don't see
No.
a person over there, but I see a person over there. So clearly, by that point, if we're in a group, I say I see that person, then clearly that person exists. But with proof, there is no one there. My
Got
point,
it.
just as it stands, is there is zero like hard, firm proof
So,
of a
let
single
me.
person could be seeing something. But what about the rest of the group they were in? What about the other people they were with? Or people could get twisted. There's people who see a man with a long beard and hair today, and they're like, "Oh my, Jesus is back!" And the man is just in like some Mexican
Yeah,
dude named Jose. Like he's
Jose.
he's got no part of it.
Yeah, I like what you're saying though, man. And so you're basically saying that the way to explain these appearances, both in groups and individuals, is that they either hallucinated or maybe they lied.
Yeah, like there are followers who lie and say that like Trump is still in office all this time and Biden is just there for I don't know what.
Yeah,
So are they right by that standard?
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, and so I mean, I would be convinced of that stuff, or I'd have a better time believing those explanations if it weren't for certain things. So, first of all, with just hallucinations, right? Um, I could I could probably believe it if it was just one person having this hallucination on their own. But the fact that there were group appearances, that makes me extremely skeptical that it was just a hallucination. Um, there's no medical evidence that group hallucinations are even possible. You can't
No,
share a hallucination with someone else. It's a private experience. Go ahead.
but there is the what is it called? Dude, I'm blanking on every fucking word right now. It's some word. Um, placebo effect. There's a placebo effect, right? There was an experiment done. I forget what it was exactly. Of like but like one person saying something, right, could lead another person to not see what they were seeing, but to convince themselves that they saw what that person saw. So say I look at that guy over there, I'm like, oh my, do you just see that? He just punched that guy. And then you turn around and you see his arm move back, but you didn't know if he actually punched him. You're like, but I just saw his arm, like his
Hmm.
arm went back. He punched him. And then person C says, yeah, I saw him withdraw his fist too. He definitely punched them. But what did he do all along? That person was wiping a window or, pulling a book off the shelf. He wasn't even touching the other guy. But because I said something and you looked over and saw something that could represent what I said, you jumped to my conclusion with me. It's like a game of telephone, but it's like a connection of telephone, like person A heard person B heard what person A saw, person C heard what person A saw through person B, person D heard what person C and B saw from person A. You see how it just keeps going?
I see. So maybe it's the case that like one of the people actually like saw Jesus, or maybe like a hallucination, but then everyone else kind of just mistakenly took him for Jesus too. So I'm skeptical of that as well, because one of the group appearances was with the disciples of Jesus at the table, and he appeared physically to them close up, and he even openly invited them to touch his scars. You know the story of doubting Thomas, right? He was the person who had doubted. So he doubted Jesus had rose from the dead. Like he said, unless I see his scars on his hands, on his side, I will not believe. But then there's this group appearance where the disciples see Jesus, Thomas included, and he goes up to Thomas and says, touch my hand and my side. And Thomas bows down to him and says, my Lord and my God. So we have a group appearance where it doesn't look like they could have the opportunity to be mistaken. It seems to be public to all of them and intimate enough where they couldn't be mistaken. The best explanation, if this wasn't authentic, is they would have to have a group hallucination. But that's the thing that I'm saying is not possible.
Yeah, group hallucination is not by any means possible, and that would be a valid argument for the whole like placebo effect. A person A saying something, and other people are saying that too. However, okay, say that did happen, right? Why doesn't that happen again? Why can't we prove something like that happens again? Why doesn't God put something here to make us believe something like that could happen? Why doesn't he make something just appear out of nowhere like that? Why doesn't he bring Jesus back down? Why doesn't he like make something appear out of nothing for someone, bring someone back like that? And at that point, right, is Jesus dead or is he alive? Because saying that he's alive would be a completely like crazy fact to say, because how is a person who is alive able to just like appear and disappear at will? If that's the case, why am I not disappearing and appearing at will? Granted, I'm not a prophet, I'm not, messenger of God, whatever you want to believe. But at the same time, why didn't he do that when he was actually alive before he died? Did he wait for, is this like a theatric? Did he wait for himself to die to do all this stuff?
Yeah. Now, what you're asking there is a different question. Now it's like, why don't we have appearances of Jesus to ourselves? But I don't think that counts as any evidence against his resurrection. For any historical fact in the past, if someone were to say, well, why don't we see that nowadays? That it's not the kind of evidence we would expect. So, for example, like Pearl Harbor, should we expect there to continue to be a war there right now, even when it's all done and over? Well, no. That stuff happened in the past, and the evidence back then is sufficient. So I'd say for Jesus's resurrection and stuff, we have good evidence of that in its historical context. And the fact that he doesn't appear to us right now doesn't prove any good point.
When you say historical context, are you talking about a piece of paper that was written by someone that claimed they experienced it? Or are you talking about physical, hard evidence of him being there? Because, again, the war on Pearl Harbor, we don't believe that exists because, it's not happening. But we have images of the, like, catastrophe that happened because of that. We have the things that, caused that to happen. Now, where are, obviously technological like differences, granted, yeah. But like at the same time, okay, where's his actual body then? Where is do you see how there's like no physical evidence that is held up to this point to prove any of this?
Well, here,
Like there's no
here's something we can agree on right now. So some equal footing we could be on right now is, yeah, we both don't see Jesus. And we would probably love to see Jesus if this is all true. I would love to see Jesus physically before me and to say, I am who I am, believe in me, and have eternal life. But where we split off is I don't need that stuff in order to believe that's the case because I believe that there's, again, good evidence in this. Yeah,
I'm running
fine
out
by
of
me.
points, and I can't think of any points right now.
Well, fair enough. So let's just catch up at least. So we were leaving off on the group appearances, and we both agree that there can't be a group hallucination. And what you were talking about was a placebo, and I had given the at least one example of how that couldn't have been the case because they had no room for error. They couldn't just mistake him for someone else or something like that. And this was like a physical touch and stuff like that. And that's not even touching on the other historical point that I made that the enemy of Jesus, Paul, and other skeptics of Jesus later came to trust in him. Now, for someone
Well,
to
no, I covered that point.
Oh, well, you
I
did
covered that
say,
point.
yeah, you did say that someone could have like a deep hatred of someone, and because they died not on their terms. I don't know where you went with that, but I assumed that you would say that they hallucinated them again.
They could hallucinate. It could lead to, like a feeling of need to see that person again. So, like,
Interesting.
there has been numerous times where a husband or a wife loses, the other one, and they claim they see them in dreams. So are these people seeing them in dreams, or are they actually physically seeing them? Because there have been multiple times where I'll have a dream and I swore I literally had a whole day go by, but no, it was a dream all along. I slept for 30 minutes, but to me, it felt like it was an actual real day. I got up out of bed, I did this, I did that, I went around, did my thing,
Yeah.
but it was really just like a nap, like I woke up in my bed. Like a day did not pass. Yesterday was Tuesday, today is Wednesday. Or not actually, but I'm saying in that scenario.
So, yeah, we were talking about the explanation for the enemy of Jesus, Paul. To give more context, he was persecuting Christians, like stomping out the church for saying that this man, Jesus, resurrected from the dead, because it went against his religious beliefs back then, his Judaism. He was raised in Judaism. And so he didn't believe in this resurrection. He murdered Christians for it. But apparently he had this experience where he saw Jesus and he went and devoted his life to him. Now you're saying that that could be explained by him just his devotion or his hatred to Jesus led to him hallucinating him somehow. And I'm skeptical that that's the case. I don't think that could be.
I know I'm really backboning the whole hallucination fact. It's just the only thing I can think of. I told you, I'm not in the mental headspace to debate right now. My problem with Christianity is it's too much word to word to word. It's too much person A heard person B, person A experienced this, So one person experienced something, one person said something. So just by word alone, are we supposed to believe? That's what I'm like iffy on. Same thing with Islam. I'm not defending Islam. I'm saying Islam is much more believable in this case because Islam, there's hard evidence to this day of things. You read the books, there's hard evidence leading to stuff today. With Christianity, it's only stuff that happened back then that we no longer can see, or we just can't see because something tragic and big happened that we can't see it. You see my point? And what was my first? Yeah, it's just like it's hard to believe because it's just straight word to word, mouth to mouth experience, and no one at the time straight up saying, what happened and immediately documenting it through like writing and all that, and no physical evidence that still exists to say point A, point B, point C happens.
I see. I gotcha. So I guess I'll wrap up with a question that might be underlying in this conversation that might make us different. So when it comes to eyewitness
Hmm.
testimony and the powerfulness of the evidence, would you say that eyewitness testimony is can be good evidence for something, or would you say it's never good evidence for anything?
I would say it is good evidence, right? But if the evidence can also be observed, or remnants of said evidence can be observed by another party that is both unbiased to said thing.
Wait, could you say
Because
the
I
last
could,
part again?
I that is unbiased to whatever happened,
You're saying
not
that
that unbiased, but like
you're saying someone else
someone
who doesn't
else
have a
who
bias is confirming this too.
is not just that, but I'm saying, anyone can see the evidence at that moment to prove also, and it's not just person A claiming, like, okay, let me use an example. Like, I witness a murder, right? I witness a murder. Some, like, Johnny killed Timmy, right? Timmy's dead on the ground. Johnny's there holding the knife. He drops the knife, all right? I saw him drop the knife. However, Billy comes over and sees that he dropped the knife. The knife's on the floor. Oh, the knife picked itself up. No, we can go over to the knife, dust off the knife, with fingerprints and like that, and boom, we can see it. You know,
Okay. So
like we have the proof right there. I forget what the name was of person who killed other person, but the killer would have blood on them. They would have evidence of the murder if it was a knife, obviously. But
yeah. So in those examples you gave, it wasn't just eyewitness testimony. There was physical evidence that we could see to back up
exactly,
their claims. But what if it's just
yeah.
eyewitness testimony alone? What would you say to that? Would you say that that's never good evidence alone?
All right. Would you believe if someone immediately said that, I don't know, this person stole from me? Would you immediately believe them?
So what? Like you're saying someone stole from you, and you're telling me this?
Someone stole from me.
Okay.
I'm telling you that someone stole from me.
Yeah, and would I believe that or
They
not?
stole from me.
Okay.
I am a store owner, and they came into my store and they stole from me. I have no cameras in my store. I only have myself because I was in the store and that person was in the store. I'm saying they stole from me.
Yeah. Well, I guess at that point I would just need more data. Like, if I never knew you, you're a stranger to me, I'd be a lot more skeptical of that claim. But what if we knew each other for a long time and you've proven yourself to be trustworthy and you don't lie? Then I would have more credence to what you believe, you're telling me.
So you believe someone that you don't know at all? Because, well, in that standard, so you're reading
No.
the Bible, which is a collection of stories from different mouths. So you're reading a story that came out of someone's mouth. So you would believe someone that you didn't even know. You don't, like, you've never met in your life.
Oh, well, yeah, you're right that I've never met like the apostles, the eyewitnesses myself. But that whether I've met them, had a history with them or not, that's not the only factor as to whether or not I can trust them.
Yeah, but go on. I'm back.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, I was just going to wrap up with what I wanted to say about eyewitness testimony, and then we can head out from there. So some people
Okay.
some people wouldn't be convinced of eyewitness testimony no matter what. I am convinced that eyewitness testimony can be reliable enough to be evidence for something. And so what we have with the resurrection of Jesus is we have these eyewitness accounts. They're independent. There's groups and individuals. And something that convinces me that this is trustworthy is these people didn't have anything to gain. We see in the Bible that they actually die for their beliefs. Paul, for example, the one who hated Christianity, when he turned to Jesus, he got stoned, he got flogged, he went through starvation, he got kicked out of cities, he went through multiple shipwrecks, all of this stuff and more for proclaiming the resurrection because he was, proclaiming this so much in all these places. He went to his death believing in this. And he's not the only one. That helps show me that these guys are at least genuine with what they say. They're actually convinced they saw these things. Now, that's not the only piece of information. We talked about plenty of other stuff beforehand. But I think that even if I don't see Jesus physically right now, and yeah, we're looking at eyewitness accounts that are about 2,000 years old, just about, I still have good reason to trust them because of the data that I have from them. They're genuine with what they believe. This is groups, not just individuals seeing this. There's enemies of Jesus converting. And we also have their eyewitness accounts preserved to this day, which you'd probably want to debate me on, but that we can't do that right now.
Yeah. I don't know. Agree to disagree. Everyone's got their belief.
Yeah, fair
I guess
enough.
it's whatever helps you get to heaven, you know. That I will always understand. You know, everyone's got their own beliefs. Never will I, well, that's also an Islamic teaching. Don't push your religion to others, but you know, that's besides the point. You know, like I'm not gonna like try to persuade someone to believe versus not to. I love debating. It's just
Well,
that,
that's good.
you know, today
Yeah.
is not my day.
Okay.
Dude, any other day, dog, any other day.
It could be another day. Who knows? I mean, you're on my friends list. We'll see each other again at another day. All you got to do is be like, "Hey, Hugs, you know about Islam, or you know this thing about Christianity," and I'll totally be down to chat.
Yeah. But I don't know. For me, it's just personally just like I don't believe and you know, if God's going to punish me for not believing, you know. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm getting a phone call again. Yeah, it's not something I'm going to believe. You know, I believe everyone has their own time to believe something to help them get through certain things. That I am a strong like not opposer. What's the word? Supporter to like have religion guide you through stuff.
Uh,
My only problem with religion is that I view it as something too hateful and too divergent. You know, too diverging, I should say. That it diverges too much. There's too much of person A said person this, and you know, person A said this to person B. Person B claims this now.
yeah.
You know,
For me,
and if
well, for me, I'm more just concerned about evidence. I'm more concerned about whether these religions are true or not, and whether there's evil in it and confusion. Those are secondary issues, but I don't make them my main focus. I'm focused on the truth of them. From what you're telling me, the priority list seems to be the other way.
no, the well, okay, I understand. You know, there's things that you can't experience, but you have to acknowledge are real. Like, I'm never gonna go into space, but I believe space is there. You know, I mean, they're like, but then again, there's evidence that space is there.
Right.
There's like various, you know, technologies to show me that space is there. When it comes to religion, Islam is the most convincing to me. You're like a contortionist right now.
Yeah, I know. I gotta
There you
turn
go.
off my trackers.
When
We're
it
good.
comes
Okay.
when it comes to Islam, that is the closest it can get to me, religion as a whole, because of the whole, you know, like there's stuff in the Quran that can be applied today, that are applied today, and that have evidence of things happening today and discoveries that have been made recently. Being a book made way before Christianity was even a thought, you know? When I debate, not that I debate with religion often, but the times I have debated with religion, it's just immediately aggressive yelling from a Christian telling me to believe, and then I'm going to hell for not believing.
Yeah, I'm sorry they do that to you,
This is
man.
a great change of pace.
Oh, well,
Oh no, it's not just Christians; it's also Jewish people.
okay.
I forgot what's it called. Yeah, there's another one, but I can't think of it right now. But you know, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, hug before I go. Live up to my name.
I was leaving.
Yeah, I got my stuff I need to do as well. I know you said you were about to do something.
No, it was just that I was just getting texts. I'm not skedaddling anytime soon. It's just
Oh.
that
Oh,
my
okay. I
brain's
thought.
fried.
Okay, fair enough. I thought that you had to go and do stuff. My mistake. Yeah, I've been, I guess, experienced and versed with the whole debating scene, and so I learned that there's a difference. There's two types of arguments. There's the shouting match argument, but then there's also the formal kind that's in like
Logical.
philosophical debates and stuff like that. Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, because I hate the debates when it's just like I've even had it with like other like Muslims when I told them that like I believe that Islam is the most like realistic one, but I myself still don't follow it. And then they're like, "Nah, you're going to hell for not." I'm like, "My bad,
Yeah.
my bad for saying anything."
Yeah, my bad. My bad. Yeah.
Like that's how I withdraw. I'm just like, "My bad. I don't know what to do after that."
Yeah. Now, with people like you that like we come to the end of the conversation agreeing to disagree, I still appreciate it because we're exchanging ideas and evidences and stuff like that. So I'm always learning new stuff with interactions with people like you.
Yeah, me too. And it's like it's good because I understand I had a religious trauma, but I don't want it to be a reason and a factor of me just straight up being ignorant to religion, or just any topic at all.
Yeah.
Because, music wise, I hate country, dog. And like that has caused me to be really ignorant to country. I know there's some good country songs, but I am still extremely ignorant to country. But in my defense, country is,
Well,
yeah.
is there any last things that you wanted to bring up on your mind to me?
Nah, that's really it.
Okay, cool. Well, I will be dipping out. But
Nope.
yeah,
It was nice debating, Dane.
yeah, of course, man. I definitely enjoyed it, and I wish the best for you when it comes to TikTok, bro. That place is an adventure for sure.
Oh, I know. I'm already armed and ready for the hate comments.
Oh, those are tame. Those aren't even the worst part. Ah, you're good.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Well, I'll be looking forward to seeing whatever you make, man. Until next time.
I bet.